Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. Wednesday, hump day, halfway through the work week. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. That is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Big elections yesterday. Ohio voters approved abortion protections. Kentucky re-elected their Democrat governor. And this comes to you from CNN. Competitive races in dozens of states provided insights into what voters are thinking ahead of the 2024 elections, including further evidence that voters remain motivated by the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which helped propel Democrats to victories in Kentucky and Virginia, according to this report. There were also few signs that economic unease hurt incumbents. Voters in the conservative state of Ohio approved two ballot measures. The first enshrines the right to productive care, including access to abortion in the state's constitution. The second will legalize recreational marijuana use. Both amendments required a 50% threshold after voters rejected a measure this year to raise that threshold. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, a Democrat, defeated Republican State Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who had defended the state's abortion ban. In Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves, a Republican, defeated Democrat Brandon Presley. Virginia held elections for both the state and the Senate House, the state Senate and House. Democrats held control of the upper chamber and flipped the state House. The fight for control of the Senate had largely been painted as a vote on whether the state would further restrict abortion. More on the election coming up a little bit later on this edition of the Wells Report. The Israeli-Hamas war. Israeli forces have released a video of a fiery attack on Hezbollah and a terrorist target there. This from Fox News. Israel's military has shared a video purportedly showing a fiery attack on a Hezbollah terrorist target. The Israeli Air Force wrote on X that the attack happened overnight with footage depicting a fireball emerging following an airstrike. Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon, had been engaging in border skirmishes with Israeli forces as military activity is heating up against Hamas inside the Gaza Strip. The Israeli Air Force released the video as it continued its ground operations in Gaza, announcing early this morning that Mohsen Abu Zina, whom it described as the Hamas head of weapons and industries, is the group's latest official to be taken out in the war. The United Nations estimates some 15,000 people fled south from northern Gaza. That happened yesterday as Israel continued its campaign against Hamas in Gaza City. Footage circulating on social media appeared to show a convoy of thousands of Gazans waving white flags as they moved south, flanked by Israeli armored vehicles. The U.S. Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said the Gazans used the Israel 4-hour window to set up for their evacuation. Israeli forces are locked in combat with Hamas terrorists embedded in hundreds of miles of tunnels beneath Gaza City. Israeli officials earlier this week said they believe many of the hostages that Hamas took on October 7th are being held under the city as well. Those fleeing included children, older people, people with disabilities. Most walked with minimal belongings through the Rafah Gate, according to the UN agency. There was an assassination attempt on Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Horrifying video footage captures what appears to be an attempted assassination on Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The presidential convoy came under a hail of gunfire after he disregarded a menacing ultimatum from a renegade Palestinian security force urging him to declare war on Israel. Abbas holds the position of chairman of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO, which governs the West Bank territory. Notably, the Palestinian Authority president does not endorse the terror group Hamas, which controls the besieged Gaza Strip. Local media reported one of Abbas's bodyguards was shot. The attack was claimed by an organization known as the Sons of Abu Jandal. Israel's former prime minister denounced the idea of offering a military pause or ceasefire with Hamas, saying it would be inviting the enemy to rearm, strategize, and inflict more pain on the Israeli people. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said that Israel is party to an inevitable war to eliminate Hamas. There is no backing down until the terror threat is gone. Quote, "There's no way we can accept the terror state that did what it did on our border," he said, adding a pause will lengthen the war and bring about all the negative repercussions associated with a drawn-out conflict, like the human death toll. Nearly two-thirds of Americans are disapproving of President Biden's handling of the Israeli-Hamas war. Nearly two-thirds of Americans say they disapprove of President Biden's handling of the Israeli ongoing war against Hamas, according to an Associated Press poll released today. While Americans overwhelmingly support Israel's war against Hamas, they showed less support for the U.S. providing military aid to Israel in the conflict. Roughly 56% of Americans say Israel's response to Hamas is about right or has not gone far enough, according to the poll. Meanwhile, only a third of Americans approve of how President Biden has responded to the conflict, with 63% saying they disapprove, a figure that mirrors his approval rating more generally. Karine Jean-Pierre has been skewered online for refusing to condemn vandalism of hostage Israeli posters. White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre faced condemnation online after being initially hesitant in a response to a question about activists removing posters of hostages taken by Hamas terrorists. Numerous videos have gone viral of activists tearing down posters showing hostages that were taken in the October 7th attack that killed 1,400 in southern Israel. A reporter noted to Jean-Pierre yesterday that there had been widely shared videos of individuals tearing down signs of Israelis currently being held hostage by Hamas. The reporter then proceeded to ask whether it's the White House view that these actions should be condemned or if the White House sees such activity as a form of peaceful protest. Quote, "I've kind of seen the reporting," said Jean-Pierre. She went on to block further questioning from the reporter and declared, "I'm just not going to go into specifics on that particular thing," unquote. Elsewhere in politics, the United States House of Representatives passed a GOP-led resolution to censure Representative Rashida Tlaib over comments critical of Israel and in support of Palestinians amid Israel's war against Hamas. The move amounts to a rare and significant rebuke of the Michigan Democrat, who is the first Palestinian-American woman to serve in Congress. The vote was 234 to 188, with 4 Republicans voting against it and 22 Democrats voting for the measure. The resolution, introduced by GOP Representative Rich McCormick of Georgia, advanced earlier in the day after a Democrat-led effort to block the measure failed. The U.S. House of Representatives also doing business with the power of the purse. Reported by Fox News, the House approved a measure late yesterday that would slash Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's taxpayer-funded government salary to $1. The bill, which was introduced by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican of Georgia, was passed via voice vote yesterday as an amendment to the 2024 Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Act, the standalone funding bill for the General Services Administration, Securities and Exchange Commission, and other related agencies. I'm proud to announce my amendment to fire Pete Buttigieg just passed the House. Pothole Pete staged fake bike rides to the House and used private planes funded by taxpayers to receive awards for the way certain people have sex, said Representative Greene in a social media post. American taxpayers should not be on the hook for paying for his lavish trips or his salary, She went on to say Pete Buttigieg does not do his job. It's all about fake photo ops and taxpayer-funded private jet trips to accept LGBTQIA plus awards for him, said Green. I'm happy the amendment passed, but he doesn't deserve a single penny. 1 year before the election day of 2024, former President Donald Trump, narrowly leads President Biden, according to CNN, 49 to 45% among registered voters. This in a hypothetical rematch of the latest CNN poll conducted by SSRS. Biden's reelection chances are buffeted by deeply negative approval ratings, a stagnant sense that all things are going poorly in the United States, diminished support among key voter blocs, and a widespread sense that he's simply not up to do the job. In a potential rematch between Biden and Trump, neither candidate had much room for growth. All told, 51% of voters nationwide said there's no chance that they would vote for Biden, and just 4% are not currently supporting him, but say there is a chance that they will. Nearly half, 48%, said there's no chance that they will vote for Trump, and only 2% said they are currently backing him but would reconsider. Justice Ivanka Trump will be testifying in a New York courtroom today. She is going to testify in the non-jury civil trial stemming from New York Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit against her family and the Trump Organization. The former president's daughter was originally listed as a defendant in the James lawsuit, in which she alleged President Trump defrauded banks and inflated the value of his assets with the help of his children. Her expected court appearance comes after her attorneys filed a notice of appeal last week to reverse the decision to require her to testify. Their request was denied. Former President Donald Trump has denied any wrongdoing and has repeatedly said his assets were actually undervalued. President Trump repeatedly has said his financial statements had disclaimers, requesting that the numbers be evaluated by the banks with their own vetting sources. Also, both President Donald Trump's son, Don Jr., and Eric Trump testified during the trial they had no involvement in the creation of financial statements and that the Trump family did nothing wrong. Speaking of lawsuits, there is a lawsuit to stop the New Jersey baby blood database. This from Fox News. Hannah Lavalio's first son entered the world 1 month premature. Nurses bustled in and out of the hospital room during his first days of life and frequently, pricked his heel to check his blood. This according to Lavalio. I just trusted and assumed everybody had my best interest in mind and my child's best interest in mind, so I didn't question it much. Unbeknownst to the new mother, New Jersey secretly stores newborn blood spots for up to 23 years and has, in some cases, turned the samples over to police. This according to an open records inquiry. Now Lavalio and fellow mom Erica Jedniak have joined a federal class action lawsuit that accuses New Jersey health officials of violating millions of babies and parents' constitutional right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure. Every state requires hospital staff to collect a baby's blood shortly after birth. The blood is tested for a variety of health disorders like cystic fibrosis, hormonal deficiencies, or other immunodeficiencies and congenital disorders. In New Jersey, the screening identifies about 150 babies per year with serious illnesses. This according to a handout given to parents by the hospitals. Parents are not told the state stores those samples for more than 2 decades or for why. That is today's front page here on the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us. And so we're going to be talking a little bit more about that, a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. Also, we'll be speaking a little bit more about the Israeli-Hamas war and the elections held yesterday. There are some interesting reappraisals going on by both of the political parties regarding yesterday's election results. We'll be discussing that as well. It is Wednesday. It is the Wells Report. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. You can find our chat room on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. You can also find it on X, Rumble, and Patreon. We will be doing our, we had a little technical glitch yesterday. So our Substack page did not get published yesterday. Sorry on that. That was all my fault. Had a little bit of difficulty with the computers, but we're taking care of things, and we'll have a Substack column for you today, shortly after the end of this broadcast at 11 a.m. Central Time. Wednesday in progress. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with more coming up in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. Just a little bit of chuckling going on insofar as this is like strangeness is happening on the old Transmissione. Yeah. Our transmission is doing some strange things that we are currently working on to try to get them all fixed up, and we will see what we will see a little bit later on here on the Wells Report as we're working on a small technical glitch. So you know, if you listen to this broadcast for any length of time whatsoever, my deep regard for a true American television journalist. Her name is Catherine Herridge. I've been paying attention to Catherine Herridge for a very, very long time, and the reason that I have is because she is just plain brilliant. Well, she's also on the brink of being held in contempt of court. In a late September deposition, the CBS News senior investigative correspondent declined to reveal her sources for a series of 2017 stories she reported on during her time at Fox News. This, according to a court filing made public yesterday. Her refusal to disclose the source was in direct defiance of an alarming order issued by the court this year, in which Herridge's camp will surely appeal, of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. The court, from a judge, came as a result of a lawsuit filed by Chinese-American scientist Yanping Chen against the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Citing documents reviewed by Fox News, Herridge reported that Chen was the subject of a federal probe. Chen has alleged that federal authorities improperly leaked information about her, violating the Privacy Act. In an effort to prove her case, Chen subpoenaed Herridge and Fox News with the hope of unmasking the source for her stories. Fox News and Herridge aggressively fought the move, arguing that Cooper should quash the subpoenas because of the First Amendment's protections afforded to the press. But Judge Cooper disagreed and ordered otherwise, stating that Chen's need for the requested evidence overcomes Herridge's qualified First Amendment privilege in the case. That set the stage for a September 26th deposition of Herridge, when the veteran journalist was repeatedly asked how she obtained the information for her 2017 stories. Herridge politely declined to answer dozens of such questions. "Will you tell me who that source was?" a lawyer for the plaintiff, Chen, asked. "Objection, privilege," Herridge's lawyer exclaimed. Chen's lawyer then said, "Are you going to decline to answer that question?" Herridge responded respectfully, "Yes," and that went on through the duration of the deposition. Herridge's refusal to accept or to reveal her source did not sit well with Chen. In a filing made yesterday, the Chen legal team formally asked the court to reprimand her. Without consequences, Herridge has no reason to comply with the court order. Accordingly, Dr. Chen requests both compensatory sanctions awarded to her and continuing coercive financial sanction payable to the court to compel Herridge to comply with the order, according to the motion from the Chen defense team or plaintiff team. There being clear and convincing evidence of Herridge's defiance of the August 1st, 2023 order and no valid cause for such defiance, a finding of contempt should issue and sanctions should be imposed, according to Chen's lawyers. The motion to hold Herridge in contempt and levy stiff financial penalties, all for declining to violate the fundamental journalistic principle of protecting source identity, led to a swift show of support for Catherine Herridge from both CBS, Fox News, and, of course, joined by the Wells Report. I want to make this abundantly clear. There will be no contempt of court citation. There may be. She may even get thrown in jail. But that is absolutely improper under any possible circumstance. And why that is the case, no one really knows. No one really knows why this would even come up. This is a clear First Amendment issue governing the freedom of the press and should be set aside as such as quickly as possible. Catherine Herridge is well within her rights and means as a brilliant journalist. And for goodness sakes, this needs to be upheld by everybody in the United States. The Hamas war, along with Israel, coming up next as we continue on this Wednesday. It is the 8th day of November, year of our Lord 2023.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real. with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Looking at the Israeli-Hamas war, there are a lot of things going on today. In fact, Israel now says the IDF forces are at the heart of Gaza City, where they are targeting Hamas infrastructure and commanders. This infrastructure is below the city in tunnels. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel was advancing the pressure applied on Hamas every hour and every day. It is unclear where Israel is operating inside Gaza City, which lies at the north of the Gaza Strip. Israel opened another temporary evacuation corridor that happened today for Gazans to move south. Over 11,000 Gazans have done so, and as a matter of fact, taken advantage of it. And it has just been announced that Israel will leave that corridor open for an additional hour. Civilian casualties mounting. G7 ministers voice support for humanitarian pauses in the fighting, stop short of calling for a ceasefire. Israel has ruled out humanitarian pauses without the release of hostages. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken escalated his opposition to a ceasefire in Gaza, saying supporters of a ceasefire have an obligation to explain how to address the unacceptable result that would likely bring. The White House maintained it does not believe that Israeli forces should reoccupy Gaza. This after Prime Minister Netanyahu said Israel will have the overall security responsibility for the Strip for an indefinite period. A top Netanyahu aide said that Israel's post-war plan is not an ongoing occupation. Italy is sending a Navy ship equipped with a hospital to Gaza to help treat the victims of the conflict. This, according to Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto. He said that yesterday, actually said that today. The ship is called Vulcano. It's leaving from an unnamed Italian port. It happens to be leaving today with 170 staff, including 30 people trained for medical emergencies, said Crosetto during a press briefing. The minister also announced a field hospital will be brought directly to Gaza in agreement with Palestinians. Quote, "We are the first to carry out a humanitarian operation in that area. We hope that other countries will follow us." This report is 13 minutes old, courtesy of CNN. Doctors in Gaza are running out of medical supplies, according to a Red Cross surgeon. Doctors in Gaza are running out of medical supplies, according to the International Committee of the Red Cross. The chief surgeon, Tom Podokar, warned today that the healthcare system is under severe strain, this according to the ICRC. But in the last week, I've had to tell a father that his child has non-survivable burn injuries. We've had to treat young patients pulled out of rubble after 48 hours, said Podokar, who is now working in the European Gaza hospital Khan Yunis, in an ICRC press release published today. Quote, "We're really running out of things now, dressings, particularly for the burns. We're running out of anesthetic and analgesic drugs. The staff, both ourselves and local staff, are getting very worn out. The living conditions are very basic. There's not much food, but of course, it's nothing compared to what the people here in Gaza are suffering at the moment. It is essential that the perspective be maintained here that this is a Hamas event. This is because of an October 7th attack across the Gaza Strip frontier into Israel to slaughter Israelis, in many cases as they slept. The people that are responsible for this are not Israel, not the Israeli Defense Force. The people responsible for this are Hamas. The people in the Gaza Strip who have chosen to stay are adherents of what is an ideology, not a nation. Therefore, they are Hamas. And oh, by the way, I dare say that the parents who have children that are now suffering because of the thoroughly justified counterattack against Hamas in the Gaza Strip are also responsible for their children's injuries. They should have evacuated. They should have taken their children with them. But in the twisted world of Hamas, it's okay to have a little kid burned and suffering and not being able to, say, for example, have the medical wherewithal to be able to ease that suffering. It's better to have that happen than to stop themselves from going out and killing Jews willy-nilly because they just don't like the situation that Israel represents in their political minds. It's time to keep that firmly at the forefront here. This CNN updates are decidedly pro-Palestinian. And I am decidedly objective and straightforward, even truthful, about the realities of Palestinians. Palestinians have chosen this. Hamas is a terrorist organization according to everyone. If you live under the rule of a terrorist organization and you do not object and you do not leave, you are a part of the terrorist organization. The Palestinians have turned themselves into a terrorist nation, with all the trappings of that except the nation, which they steadfastly refuse to accept. All the while, people that are not paying attention to the reality of the situation continue to insist that Palestinians want a homeland. They do want a homeland. They want a homeland called Israel so that they can rename it Palestine, so that they can go through the entire country and slaughter every Jew they find. That was shown by Hamas on October 7th. Now, I could be wrong. If you believe I am, by all means, join us. 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Tell me I've got it wrong. I will not yell at you. Okay? I may point out that if you stand with Hamas, you are Hamas. I want to hear what you have to say about that. I do. 817-379-2172. There has to be somebody out there that believes that the Palestinians are being put upon. I would really like to hear from somebody like that. I really want to know how they justify the Hamas attack on Israelis. If they themselves are complaining about the counterattack on Palestinians, their fellow Palestinians, from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, if they are truly, truly upset about that, then they must be upset that their own government sent murderers across the frontier to go slaughter Israelis. You can't have it both ways. Either you are against civilians being slaughtered, or you are not. You don't get to complain about what you call your civilians being slaughtered. If you go out and slaughter the neighbors that live across the frontier from your territory, just because you hate them and because you think because Jews are whatever you think Jews are. You don't get to have it both ways. That duplicity is why all these children are suffering and all these old people are suffering and why so many people are displaced. The Palestinians in the Gaza Strip want it this way. Hamas would rather have horrific casualties than peace. There's more. Let's start talking a little bit more about that. This from 1 hour and 35 minutes ago, according to CNN, UN Secretary of State Antony Blinken said today it's clear that Israel cannot occupy Gaza, but there may be a need for some transition period at the end of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. The top U.S. diplomat's mention of a transition period came in response to comments from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who earlier this week said Israel will have the overall security responsibility in Gaza for an indefinite period after the war with Hamas ends. How could there possibly be any other alternative? Clearly, Israel has got to handle security needs in the Gaza Strip. Look what happens when they don't. Blinken said he heard from Israeli officials they have no intent to reoccupy Gaza and retain control of Gaza. All I can tell you is this. To be perfectly honest with you, if Israel does not occupy Gaza, they will withdraw again. And at some time in the future, at some date certain in the future, we'll be going through all this again. If Hamas is allowed to continue, if the leadership of Hamas is not eradicated in one way or another, either sent to exile forever or simply sanctioned in a way that is permanent and final, then this is going to happen again. That's not to say that there won't be people that will follow in the footsteps of Hamas. But until Palestinians realize that they are the author of their own misery, they're going to continue to be the author of their own misery. Apparently, it's been 14 years since they elected Hamas. Apparently, they want it this way. Okay. Couple that with refusing to take yes for an answer when it comes to a homeland. Well, there you go. All you have to do is decide otherwise. All you have to do for Palestinians to live in peace is to accept what is being offered to you. But the Palestinians refuse. Then it's on them. You are the author of your own fate. Getting back to the idea of this transition period between Hamas and Israel, the question is there some transition period that may be necessary? That might be, and what might the mechanisms that you could put in place to make sure that there is security, but very clear on no reoccupation, just as we're very clear on no displacement of the Palestinian population. Okay. Well, the Palestinians have a decision to make. Are they going to be a terrorist populace, or are they going to be good neighbors to Israel? That is their choice. So far, their answer is relatively clear, much to their own purported misery. Also, according to CNN, this from 1 hour and 53 minutes ago, Gaza's Al-Quds hospital is scaling back operations because of a fuel shortage. This is according to the Palestinian Red Crescent, their analog of the Red Cross. The Al-Quds hospital in Gaza City scaling back most of its operations amid a fuel shortage. To ensure minimal services over the next few days, the hospital's main generator has been turned off, and the hospital is operating on small generators instead. The hospital shut down its surgical ward, MRI, and medical imaging ward, and the oxygen generation plant, according to the statement. Each hospital building is now receiving 2 hours of electricity per day after 5 p.m. local time to ensure that 14,000 displaced people sheltering there have enough power to meet their basic needs. Quote, "It has now become impossible for PRCS to obtain fuel from within the Gaza Strip. The PRCS hopes it will not be forced to completely shut down Al-Quds Hospital in the coming days as fuel and basic supplies run out. PRCS is urgently appealing to health and relief organizations to allow humanitarian aid, medical supplies, and fuel to reach the Al-Quds Hospital." Again, once again, this is a self-inflicted tragedy that the Palestinians have brought on themselves. It doesn't do anyone any good to not suffer under circumstances like this. It doesn't do anybody any good, including the Palestinians. If they can go out and slaughter 1,400 Israelis and then come back and have the entire world to tell Israel that they have to promote a ceasefire and humanitarian aid, they don't suffer any kind of accountability for their decision-making. And then when you don't talk about the realities of their decision-making, which the entire world, for whatever reason, believes is unnecessary, except for me, here, I'll do it again. Palestinians, if you don't want Israel to mess up your lives, hurt and kill your children, your elderly, what have you, stop murdering them. There you go. Make peace. Accept a homeland. Accept a government. Accept the fact that anti-Jewish bigotry, murderous, genocidal, anti-Jewish bigotry must be dropped from your social lexicon. The Jews aren't going anywhere. And anybody except insane people will not allow you to push the Jews anywhere, including into the sea. It's just not going to happen. So you have a choice. You're going to be an international terrorist pariah race, or you can start getting on with good Christian fellowship, but that kind of drops out of the solution set, don't it? No, what has to happen is you guys have to decide to live in peace. That's what you have to decide. And if you don't, you won't have peace. You will have tragedy. Your hospitals will run out of fuel. You will run out of food. Your children won't have bandages, etc., etc., etc. The group of 7 foreign ministers that happened today voiced support for humanitarian pauses in Gaza to support aid delivery, civilian movement, and release of hostages, but stopped short of calling for a ceasefire. That's a no-go. There won't be a ceasefire until Hamas is gone. By the way, that's another thing that Palestinians could do. If you're tired of all this, you want to have fuel for the Al-Quds Hospital, turn in any member of Hamas you happen to see. Just turn them in. Drop a dime, as they used to say. When there were payphones, there are no payphones anymore, but what you do is you just call the Israeli Defense Force and say, hey, Bomber McKenzie from Hamas is over there. He's living in a tunnel that's approximately 14 meters away from the front door of this building. If you do that, this ends relatively quickly. If you do not, enjoy the tough times that you're currently a part of.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. Thanks very much for joining us today. I want to thank Fred for joining us, and I want to thank all the rest of the folks that are here on our chat room. You can find that at Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and Patreon. All right. One of the guys I have a great deal of actual admiration for is Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo is a brilliant guy, a great policymaker, former director of the CIA, former Secretary of State. This is one of the best resumed public servants we have in the United States. He's talking a little bit about what can happen with this particular circumstance. He was on with the great Faulkner Focus and what on Fox News, and what ended up happening is that he spent a little bit of time talking about what worries him.
Harm, and I'm very worried about what could be happening inside of our own country. We've got an open southern border and an Ayatollah in Iran being supported by the Chinese Communist Party and Russia, who are feeling their oats and they feel that there is no cost to their actions when they attack Americans. We've got to get serious about this. We know how to do it. We have all the tools to do this, Harris. We just need leadership that is prepared to deter the Iranian regime.
Well, look, and the earlier you do that, the better off we are. Fewer of our people have to die and be harmed. Politico has gotten a leaked memo in which State Department staffers are going after Biden's administration's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. It's marked a sensitive but unclassified document and reads in part, "We must publicly criticize Israel's violations of international norms, such as a failure to limit offensive operations to legitimate military targets." The message also states when Israel supports settler violence and illegal land seizures or employs excessive use of force against Palestinians, we must communicate publicly that this goes against our American values so that Israel does not act with impunity. What do you make of that?
Harris, I wish I could tell you I'm surprised, but having led that organization, the State Department, this is the AOC Rashida Tlaib wing of the State Department, right? These are classic appeasers who don't understand that the Israelis are acting in self-defense. They are taking out a terror threat that killed 1,400 of their citizens. They have not only the right to do it, but an obligation to do it. And so I saw this at the State Department during my 1,000 days as Secretary of State. There is a progressive element that sits inside of that organization that pulls and pulls and pulls. And we've already seen apparently one senior person quit. Frankly, I hope folks who don't understand how to act in America's interest, I hope they'll all decide that they no longer want to be part of an important institution, the United States Diplomatic Corps.
If only they could be woke to that. They could just wake up one morning and decide, oop, job change. Wow. Thank you. Rashida Tlaib Lane at the State Department. That's troubling.
Yeah, it is troubling, and it's unfortunately true. There is, as former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says, there is a leftist wing in the State Department, and they are, oh, by the way, anti-Jewish bigots. And they base a lot of their decision-making on that anti-Jewish bigotry. I know it's an ugly term. I do. Anti-Jewish bigotry. But the sanitized anti-Semitism just isn't working. We need to call it what it is. Disgusting, corrosive, genocidal, anti-Jewish bigotry. And this is something that we have seen in these United States. It's pervasive throughout the government. It's pervasive. I refuse to believe, however, that it is indeed pervasive throughout the people of the United States. The polling indicates otherwise. There are plenty of people that have real problems with the Jewish population in this country. And I don't understand for the life of me why they feel that way. I have no idea. All I can say is, whatever, it's a free country. You can believe whatever you want to, even if it makes you an anti-Jewish bigot, which, frankly, I have no use for. But that's up to you. So that's your ideology, all right? My circumstance is this. I can read. I understand what happened during the Second World War. It's never going to happen again. At least not if I have anything to do about it or with it. That State Department staff memo was indeed described as scathing by Fox News. It urged the Biden administration to change its public stance toward Israel and support a ceasefire. No, we're not going to do that. Sooner or later, I'm going to make this plain. Sooner or later, if these terrorist forces that are arrayed against Israel are not taken out, Israel is going to have no choice but to start obliterating countries, which is well within their capability range. And that the State Department of the United States would have any party to that, any party of making it so difficult for Israel that they have no choice but to turn to their nuclear weapons, is beyond irresponsible. It is absolutely antithetical to the standards of the United States that these people are invoking in their own ideology about trying to get Israel to stop killing terrorists who slaughter their own citizens. Again, this unbelievable, hyperbolic hypocrisy is just just absolutely confounding to me. Why in heaven's name can you not believe what these people are telling you? There is a major, major problem here. It is based on bigotry. Why do we have it? Since we have fought for decades to eradicate bigotry from the American lexicon. So racism is fine as long as the right people are being discriminated against? Is that what you think, the American left? Hour number 2 is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. We report the news here, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. That's opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. There was a big set of elections yesterday from coast to coast. They voted in an off-year election, and their voices were heard on controversial ballot measures, competitive governor's races, and more. This from USA Today. Democrats won several victories last night after Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear was reelected. Ohio voters passed a ballot measure to protect abortion rights in their constitution. Democrats in Virginia won control of the state's Senate and House of Delegates. Republicans won in Mississippi after Democrat candidate Brandon Presley conceded the state governor race to Governor Tate Reeves. He is a Republican incumbent. Republican Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves won election, officially defeating the Democrat challenger. He was favored in part because he, like other Southern Republicans, cast his opponent as a tool of national Democrats who support abortion rights and other policies rejected by conservatives from coast to coast. Democrats in Virginia took the House of Delegates majority back from Republicans, dealing Governor Glenn Youngkin a major setback politically. Youngkin had rallied Republicans in the state behind a vision of a red Virginia and total Republican legislature. Democrats already put a stop to the governor's plans earlier on election night by holding their state Senate majority. President Biden released his list of Virginia endorsements over the weekend, including 23 Democrats running for both the House of Delegates and the state Senate. Each faced competitive matchups against Youngkin-backed Republicans. But by midnight last night, 16 of those races had been called. All but one were wins for President Biden. At about 10:45 last night, Democrat candidate Brandon Presley came to greet his supporters. He said he came up a little short on votes. Presley thanked his supporters and said the campaign was not about him. So much of you have laid so much on the line to do this. Minutes before, Presley spoke with Governor Tate Reeves, congratulated him on the win. Democrats Tuesday effectively won Virginia by holding on to their state Senate majority and officially stunting Governor Glenn Youngkin and Republicans' plans for a red Virginia. Democrats said they were cautiously optimistic heading into Election Day, particularly about their chances in the upper chamber. The deciding seat was called just before midnight last night. Their success means Youngkin will have an uphill battle with his proposed 15-week abortion limit, which Democrats in the state already blocked in January. Candidates on the left made abortion a top campaign message in 2023, and the final outcome could be a bellwether for 2024. Many people are indeed trying to figure out whether or not the Republicans have defeated themselves with their abortion policies, beginning with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. What are your thoughts on that? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. It is being talked about on USA Today. The election returns demonstrated that the success of the Republicans in overturning a constitutional right for abortion may be a very, very costly victory. In Kentucky, a solidly red state, Democrat Governor Andy Beshear sailed to a second term after a campaign that focused front and center on abortion rights. In Ohio, an increasingly reliable Republican state, voters by double digits approved an amendment enshrining access to abortion in the state constitution. That was a rebuke to Governor Mike DeWine and the GOP-controlled legislature, which had imposed a 6-week ban as soon as the Supreme Court decision made that possible. And in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin, the GOP essentially stalwart, had vowed to curb abortion if Republicans gained unified control of the state legislature. The GOP not only failed to flip the state Senate, but also lost control of the House of Delegates, a result that cost Youngkin a potential springboard to national presidential ambitions. Last year, in the midterm elections held about 4 months after the High Court's landmark Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade, Republicans failed to score the red wave many expected. They gained control of the House of Representatives by a margin so narrow that governing has proved difficult. Witness the looming government shutdown in little more than a week. That's biased reporting, by the way. They're just throwing that in there. Just something you need to keep in mind. The power of the abortion issue to engage key voters, among them suburban women, to energize turnout shows no sign of abating. That's good news for President Joe Biden, now seeking a second term. And so, the political manipulation of the abortion rights issue is once again bringing America to a nonstop, shall we say, improvement to the unbelievable migraine headache that this issue is. This is such a convenient issue for Republicans and Democrats. Politicians love this issue. It is defining, it is divisive, it is something that they use as a political tool and a wedge, and they've done it again. And it's destructive to the nation. It always has been. It always will be. But I do want to look at this from both sides of the question. I was discussing this last night with my Democrat wife and my independent son. And I want to start this off by saying something that is very clear to most Americans of either political stripe or any political stripe, that the government that tries to tell Americans how to live their lives will shortly be voted out of office. Americans do not follow the edicts of their governments, no matter which direction that government approaches them from, whether it be their left or their right. Americans are independent thinkers. Americans are freedom-loving, liberty-loving people who will decisively defeat people who try to tell them how to live in one way or another. And that the political process of either side is unable to see that is the reason why there is so much hate and miscontent in the political quarters of the United States of America. It's why the approval ratings of the Senate are so low. The approval ratings of the House of Representatives are so low. The approval ratings of politicians are so low. President Biden has embraced a leftist green agenda. His approval is in the 30 percentile. He's trying to tell people how to live. He's trying to tell people what kind of cars they're going to drive, what kind of stoves they're going to use, how they're going to heat and cool their homes. Americans said, no, you're not. Republicans, on the other hand, want to dictate the terms of how people go about either building their families or not building their families. It's becoming relatively obvious to most people that that's not going to work. But why? Why doesn't it work? I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Because none of those political ideologies that we just discussed, both Democrat and Republican, are any of a politician's business when it comes to the people of the United States. It's none of your flipping business. And they simply say, buzz off. And they do so with their votes, and they do so with their words and their actions. This abortion issue is a hanging curveball. It's absolutely a hanging curveball. So easy to solve, but they don't want to solve it because politicians use it so much and so well. The economy, let me give you an example, just politically. The economy is in the dumper. Okay? Inflation is essentially eating somewhere north of 3.5% of our income every paycheck. Every single one. We have a debt that is going to crush the entire United States economy, and with that, the entire world economy. And we're only just hearing the first glimmers of, hey, this is a serious issue, and we've got to do something about it. That coming from Mike Johnson, who is not a multimillionaire, who just happens to be a member of the privileged ruling class. He's a guy with a mortgage just like the rest of us. And he's saying, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to fix this. Hopefully, he'll be successful. It depends on the clowns in his own party. And there are plenty of clowns in the Republican Party that want to continue this spending spree until the entire economy collapses. Democrats are well into this. Every time they take full control of the United States government, they spend $10 trillion. And yes, you got to keep in mind that during the COVID-19 mess, $7 trillion was spent by the Trump administration. It's not about party politics. It's about politics. And so all these people are telling us how we're going to live. And election after election, the people of the United States tell them how they're not going to succeed in one way, shape, or form. So the Republicans want to tell people how to have kids. It's not going to work. But what about all of this, and what about all these horrifyingly terrible things? Well, you're the one that brought that up. They are terrible things. They're horrible. All these ridiculous statements that you make about a medical procedure that is indeed horrifying. On its face, horrifying. But as I was talking to my Democrat wife and my independent son, I said that much of America is psychological. The people that are voting for non-government interference in the abortion issue aren't necessarily voting for abortion. They are voting for freedom and liberty, which is the very basis of this nation. Both of those are the very basis of this nation. 98% of the people voting for abortion rights in this nation will never, ever have one or have to even make a decision regarding one, whether it's for themselves or whether it's for their daughters. They won't have to make it. It's not the actual procedure. It's the freedom of it, of having that freedom and liberty to make your own decisions. And that's what the Republican Party continues to fail to understand. Well, what are we going to do about the issue? We got to stand up for babies. Sure. Yeah, you do. You know how? You stop telling people how to live, and you stop dictating their morality. You stop doing all this lurid discussion of the horrors of this particular circumstance. And what you do is something that I will tell you next. I'll tell everybody in the United States how to solve this issue. I first framed that Republicans are not going to convince people to curtail their freedom and liberty regardless of what the actual issue is that they want to curtail their freedoms and liberties. They're not going to do it. And so what's the solution? I will tell you in just a moment. And it's important. It's important I tell you. Because if we don't get this right, we are facing a socialist future. That's the way I see it. Back with more in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. The government of the United States is Republican. not from a party standpoint. The government itself is a republic. And that republic is structured so that we vote for our representatives who act on our mandate. At the very basis of this form of government is the reality that the voters choose their representatives who legislate on their behalf. When politicians fail to legislate on behalf of the voters of the United States or any particular state, they lose. The Republican Party is mandating that Americans vote away a freedom and liberty that they consider to be important. Not so much the issue itself. The issue is horrifying. But to vote away freedom and liberty under any circumstance is completely understandable. Unless you're a politician so damn self-righteous in your morality or your belief of climate or whatever it is. If you think that's more important than freedom and liberty, you're out of your mind. And you need to back away from the political process in general because you are a threat. Not threat to the nation, not threat to the nation's morality, not a threat to the nation, to the world's atmosphere. You're a threat to freedom and liberty. I have long stopped saying that politicians can't be that stupid. Because they can. They can be that stupid. I've been sitting here on this broadcast for the last decade or more saying that the nation needs to decide when life begins. That is the solution. Because you're not asking Americans to vote away a freedom and a liberty. You're asking Americans to extend a freedom and a liberty, which is your life begins at X moment in gestation. It really doesn't even make any difference when that is, as long as it's common sense, makes sense. Many people have said 15 weeks. I think that's too late. Many people say conception. That's too early. From a legal standpoint, morally, that's where I stand. Life begins at conception. But I'm not going to impose my morality on somebody and then expect them to vote away their freedom and liberty based on my morality. No. We need a consensus. And we also, to get that consensus, need to put down decades of brainwashing on this exact same issue. An issue that we have not solved since 1973? You've got to be kidding. Unfortunately, we're not. The people of the United States are not going to listen to their government define their freedoms and liberties. They will listen to their government in a way to extend freedom and liberty, that of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. But we have to have a national discourse on exactly when life begins. We have to decide in a consensus, what that moment is, so that we can get back to being Americans with a government that isn't trying to screw up our freedoms and liberties. Does that make sense to anybody? If it does, say so. If it doesn't, call me. 817-379-2172. Let's start the building of consensus right now. What do you think? I think it's a worthy errand. And I think we ought to get started immediately.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. You know, I spend a lot of time dealing with this government of ours and state governments of ours and politicians of ours. So much so, it's actually damaged me in my field of endeavor, which is broadcasting. One of the most annoying things about my career at this particular moment, for example, is that there are people that believe, for whatever reason, that I am a political commentator and that my time is past. I'm not a political commentator. I'm a constitutionalist American. You cannot discuss the absolute inexcusable malfunctions of government without discussing the policy stylings of the people involved in that government. I think politics blows. I am so upset with politics. I'm so upset with politicians. A lot of these people are my friends. I care an awful lot about the people that are my political friends, both nationally and locally. I do. But when it comes to the actual interests of their voters, they're clueless. And then this cottage industry of a biased press that builds up around all of this cluelessness, compounds cluelessness on top of each other, et cetera, et cetera. Is it possible to not talk about politics at all? Sure. If you want the entire nation run off the road into a socialist abyss, because if you turn away from these people, that's exactly where this country's going. And so I don't. And so this is the broadcast I have. Because people think I'm just a political commentator. People don't want to hear about politics anymore. No, they don't. You know why? Because it sucks. If politicians actually did their job and actually represented their voters, it would suck less. But that's not what they're doing. They believe that, especially in national office, a mandate from their own district is a mandate to act on all that is them. I believe that we should be better stewards of the nation, and I also believe that we should be able to rip off people for whatever reason, up to and including making them think that the sky is falling, and therefore I'm pursuing climate science, which is nothing close to science. It's political science, if it's any science at all. It's a swindle, and it's ridiculous. I believe in the unborn. I believe in life begins at conception. And yet, we still can't decide when somebody's life actually begins. Because politicians need the divisive, painful migraine headache of the issue to be able to forward their political aims. And that makes them bastards as far as I'm concerned. Oh, the Republicans, they've staked out abortion as their issue. Look, they keep losing elections. Yeah. They're asking their voters to vote their own freedoms and liberties away. It's a cynical abuse of the people. And it infuriates me. This political endeavor is the biggest damage that this nation faces, year in, year out, decade in, decade out, election in, election out. But if you turn away from the aforementioned bastards, this nation will suffer. Right up to the point where the American people say, nope. Not one more step. And so, here we are. The people of the United States, we're the ones responsible for these people. We elected them, and we're about to do it again. The cottage industry of the mainstream media trying to sabotage people they don't agree with to the benefit of people that the American people don't agree with. For the sake of ratings or their policies, their politics, their egos, as opposed to their mission, which is to inform the public, the media. That's who I'm talking about. And the public, us. Well, I do it. Okay, well, I'm doing the best I can. But I wish there were more people doing it. So we had a better country. Regardless of whether you like the facts or dislike the facts, the truth, is all we have to defend ourselves with. And you don't get it from anybody else but me, as far as I can find. I can't find anybody doing this except me. I'm not saying that I'm indispensable to the nation. Obviously, that's not the case. Nor would I even assert that it is. It's just that all of us decry the fact that we're being lied to by the mainstream media, but nobody does anything about it. Well, except you. Because you're here. You think there's something to this broadcast. I hope that something would be truth. The Republican field is going to debate tonight in Miami, such as it is. There are 5 now instead of 15,222. That might make it a little bit more of a debate, depending on whether or not the people on that stage decide to be children or not. No, Donald Trump is not going to go. There's no reason for him to go until these children prove that they can have an honest, substantive policy debate involving a president they are trying to defeat. That is not going to happen. As a matter of fact, one of the people that will be on the stage, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, has said that Donald Trump is poisonous to Republican politics. He is, by the way. Donald Trump is poisonous to Republican politics, which is not a statement about the evil of Donald Trump, but the evil of Republican politics. Christie will say that, yeah, he's electoral poison for the Republican Party. It's true. But he's also electoral poison for the Democrat Party. But Chris Christie is trying to defeat Donald Trump so that he can go about continuing the status quo ante of a Republican enablement of leftist policy, which writes him off as far as I'm concerned. But he's going to be there. Ron DeSantis is going to be there, who says that if Donald Trump has the balls, he said this himself, if Donald Trump has the balls to show up at the debate, he'll wear a boot on his head. I don't even know where that came from. Really? So we haven't gotten away from childishness yet. We haven't. Nikki Haley is a globalist. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott is a real, honest-to-God Reagan American. I like him a lot. Vivek Ramaswamy comes from the reality side of the Republican caucus. In other words, we got a $33 trillion debt. We better do something about it. And oh, by the way, while we're at it, how about the United States minds its own business? Whether you agree with that or not is up to you. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is a guy who's fabulously wealthy. He's a billionaire. He's basically funding his own campaign. And he has good things to say. He does. But once again, we have 3 business guys and then a whole bunch of politicians. The business guys, Trump, Burgum, Ramaswamy. The politicians, DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie. And then, of course, there's Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. He fell short of qualifying, thankfully. His politicians, his presidential aspirations are finished. Good. because he's just a politician. He's not a leader. We need leadership. This will be on NBC, so you can find it there. So I thought I'd let you know about that. Also, CNN polling is out, and there is bias in this reporting. It is a CNN poll, for whatever reason, conducted by SSRS. So let me give you the results of the poll. 1 year out from Election Day 2024, former President Donald Trump narrowly leads Joe Biden 49 to 45%. That's not a narrow lead. That is a national lead of 4 percentage points. Well, there's the error margin of plus or minus 3.3 percentage points. Whatever. That's not a narrow lead. The re-election chances of the president, buffeted by deeply negative approval ratings, a stagnant sense things are going poorly, and that he's just too damn old. In the potential rematch, neither candidate has much room for growth, etc., etc. They talk about people that are undecided. We'll see. Biden's support in the poll is significantly weaker among several groups he previously won by wide margins were crucial to his coalition election victory in 2020. Among voters younger than 35, 48% support President Trump, 47% Biden. Political independents break 45 to Trump to 41% for Biden. Black voters favor Biden 73% to Trump's 23%, while Latino voters split 50 for Biden and 46 for Trump. Among voters of color generally, women divide 63% to Biden, 31% to Trump, while men split about evenly, 49 to 46 for Trump over Biden. All those margins reflect significant declines in support for President Biden compared with 2020 exit polls. While those who actually turn out to vote are not the same as registered voters, and with a full year to go before the election, there is time for voters' views to shift. The differences between then and now are stark. Biden won votes younger than 35 by 21 points nationally, independents by 13 points, black voters by 75 points, Latino voters by 33 points. Among voters of color, he won both women and men by wide margins, 53 points, women by 53, men by 34. 25% of Americans believe that President Biden has the stamina and sharpness to serve effectively as president. 53% believe that Donald Trump does. Half of Democrats say Biden has the sharpness and stamina to drive, compared with 90% of Republicans who say Trump does. President Biden's approval rating, 39% approve, 61% disapprove, largely worse than previous modern presidents at this point. His ratings are about on par with Trump's as of late October 2019. Trump stood at 41% approval at that point. But then again, those were polls that were biased against President Trump, and he still had better approval ratings than President Biden. 1 year out from Election Day in 1980, 32% approved of President Carter's work as president. He ultimately lost the election. Biden's job performance currently draws more intense opposition than impassioned support. 42% of Americans strongly disapprove of his performance. 14% strongly approve. Vice President Kamala Harris holds the same approval rating as Biden, 39% approve, 61% disapprove. The Democrats are in trouble. Democrats are in trouble. Republicans are in trouble. Everybody's in trouble because politicians don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to be a leader of Americans. They only know how to be a leader in their own particular parties. Toe the party line. Do what the party thinks is the right thing to do. The only problem with all that is when it comes to party thinking, it's all intellectually bankrupt. All of these are coming home to roost. All of these issues are coming home to roost. I've been telling people we should elect ourselves. And we keep not doing it. But ourselves are the only people that can actually get it done. By the way, ourselves would include, say, for example, the business guys. That would be Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Burgum. Because politicians aren't up to the job. We know this to be true. Chris Christie says the same things he's always been saying. Haley says the same things. Tim Scott is one guy that's outside of that. He's an outlier among the politicians. I like Tim Scott a lot. I wish he would have better traction among the American people. Ron DeSantis is a machine politician. We can expect more machine politics from this machine politician. But who will we have? Only the people of the United States know. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. There has apparently been a shooting in Arlington, Texas. I'm trying to chase that down. Let me see if I can find it. For whatever reason, my telephone has dropped my automatic passwords. So I'm looking at Dallas Morning News here and see what I can find out. It's breaking news. It just popped up. Let me see if this is it. No, it's not on the Dallas Morning News website yet, but there has apparently been a shooting. A young woman has been shot, and we will have that detail for you coming up in just a couple of moments here on the Wells Report. It was a bad day yesterday for Representative of Michigan, Rashida Tlaib. That was good. Let me try this one more time.
Representative Tlaib has repeatedly made atrocious statements against our ally Israel and in support of Hamas, a terrorist group responsible for the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust.
This resolution is about one thing and one thing only: the punishment of speech.
I'm the only Palestinian American serving in Congress, Mr. Chair, and my perspective is needed here now more than ever. The idea that criticizing the government of Israel is anti-Semitic sets a very dangerous precedent, and it's being used to silence diverse voices speaking up for human rights across our nation. Mr. Chair, do you know what it's like to fear rising hate crimes, to know how Islamophobia and anti-Semitism makes us all less safe?
House Resolution 845, resolution censoring Representative Rashida Tlaib for promoting false narratives regarding the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel and for calling for the destruction of the state of Israel.
On this vote, the yeas are 234 and the nays are 188, with 4 answering present. The resolution is adopted.
And that is how that ended. Okay, thank you so much. Gosh, I just love automatic plays. So, the House of Representatives voted last night to censure the only Palestinian American in Congress, Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. They said on the left that this was about free speech. The promotion of terrorism is not free speech. The promotion of terrorism is sedition. And there are people currently in jail right now under horrific circumstances based on seditious conspiracy. I'm trying to figure out why Rashida Tlaib and other members of the squad and other people around the United States of America who have given aid and comfort to Hamas, a terrorist organization on our soil, I'm trying to figure out how come they haven't been arrested yet. But I guess we'll just have to make do with a censure motion, which is worthless. Absolutely worthless. Rashida Tlaib is a leftist, anti-Jewish bigot. And she's proud of it. And she's fundraised on it. And she should be dismissed from the United States Congress. But then again, how did she get to the United States Congress? That's right, her district. And a majority of those people in that district are likewise anti-Jewish bigots. And you just can't vote them out of office, or you can't dismiss them from Congress, can you? But make no mistake, what Rashida Tlaib keeps forgetting is that she keeps forgetting the American part of the Palestinian American phrase she keeps using to identify herself. She doesn't know which flag to hold allegiance to, which is why the Palestinian flag is out in front of her office. She wants to be a Palestinian? Go be a Palestinian. If you want to be a Palestinian terrorist, keep supporting Hamas. And no matter what kind of slippery, greasy, misdirective comments about Islamophobia and anti-Semitism being the same thing, I assure you that's not the case. 2.4% of the American population is Jewish. They are the recipient of 60% of hate crimes in the United States. You're not going to win that statistical fight, Ms. Tlaib. Now, I can't do anything about the spreading black evil inside your heart that hates Jews. But what I can do is I can say that at least the House of Representatives did something. Not much, but something. The Jews get to live, whether you agree with it or not. Representative Tlaib. The executive producer of this broadcast is Dirk Steele. The associate producer and publicist is Jube Dankworth. God bless her and God bless Dirk. They do great work for this show. My name is John David Wells. I'll see you again tomorrow. All right, my friends. God bless you. I gotta go. So I'll see you again tomorrow at 9 o'clock Central Time. Bye-bye. Love you.